it happens so slowly that you don't really notice that you're pushing your boundaries a little bit every time. I suddenly noticed. I remember the day. It was a Saturday morning, and I was in bed, and I woke up, and I had this wonderful weekend ahead of me with all kinds of fun things to do. And the sun was coming into my room, and the birds were singing outside, and I was just there, and I was just numb. Everything was too much. Everything was like all my senses were so active that I just couldn't handle anything. And that's not a life.
Woo! If that moment hit you in the gut, today's episode is the reset you didn't know you needed. We're talking about burnout, the rat race, and that universal breaking point where so many high achievers suddenly think, I can't keep doing this. I know I've been there, and so has Coach Carolina Bakker, who lived that moment herself. Now she uses neuroscience, mindset work, and energy alignment to help people step off the treadmill and create a life that actually feels good. So if 2025 chews you up and you're determined that 2026 will not be another year of burnout, overwork, and blurry boundaries, this episode is your roadmap. Let's dive right in with Carolina Bakker. Welcome to Work Unscripted.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. I am happy to have you because today is December 31st. And if you're listening to this at another time, it really doesn't matter because the last thing I want is for my listeners to enter the new year or wake up tomorrow with the same mindset of doing more, trying to keep up to achieve, or simply surviving the rat race. I want more for them. I know you, Carolina, you want more for them. And that's why you're here today. Because I know that you are going to inspire them to want more for themselves. So first, why don't you fill us in? You've been in the rat race. I know you have. And you have a personal experience with this and burnout. So why don't you fill us in your background in this area?
In this area. So yes, I have absolutely been in the rat race. And for years and years and years. And funny enough, I actually started my coaching business while being in the rat race. But
As did I
never... I just never thought of applying my own tools to myself, right? The painter's house was never painted, let's say it like that.
Exactly.
So yes. I worked in corporate for a very long time. And I used to work in American corporations and abroad. And pressure was extremely high. Pressure cooker. High expectations, a lot of visibility, especially in my job. And so it was pretty rough. And I did have a moment that I was never diagnosed with burnout, but, you recognize it. Tired the entire day, all day, every day, crying in my car back and to work, just as my shoulders were probably up to my ears and people could see it. So I'm less wrinkled now, 15 years later, than I was when I was working in corporate.
Wow.
Because my skin was dry. I took it out on my body. I had all these little pains in my shoulders and everywhere else. So yes, I've been there. And of all the things that happened basically in that phase, the most intense one was the emotional load that it took on me. I mean, I wasn't happy. I was constantly stressed. There was not a moment that I wasn't like 100% on, and always looking at my phone. Even if I knew that I just had a weekend, I would still have my phone with me and my work phone with me because, what if whoever calls that something went wrong and they need me? I commuted a lot. So it was my entire system was wired and conditioned to be ready and present and available and everything all the time.
And it's intensity, it just grates on you and you feel exhausted, but it's not like an exhausted, like I ran a marathon exhausted. It's like this exhaustion of like, I can't do one more thing. I can't move. I can't, like it's an internal exhaustion, right? Like it's this thing you almost can't describe.
Yes. And and like I said, it's the emotional load. It's not the worst of it, I felt, is that I would wake up. I used to be a person before all this happened. I used to be a person, I would step out of my door, I would smell the fresh air. And I would love to smell it. And then there was a bird, and I loved the bird. And then I would see something else, and I would marvel in everything this world has to offer. And slowly I got into that mode because it happens very slowly, right? It doesn't happen like from one day to the other. You think, okay, now you know, now I'm suddenly in this. It happens so slowly that you don't really notice that you're pushing your boundaries a little bit every time. And so for me, it at some point I suddenly noticed. I remember the day. It was a Saturday morning, and I was in bed. And I woke up and I had this wonderful weekend ahead of me with all kinds of fun things to do. And the sun was coming into my room and the birds were singing outside. And I was just there and I was just numb.
Mm.
And all I could think of is, I don't want to do anything today. I just want to be here, want to pull the blanket over my head. I, I, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. And that horrible sun. And can't those birds shut up? You know, felt like that. Everything was too much. Everything was like all my senses were so active that I just couldn't handle anything. And that's not a life. That's
No,
a
it's
life.
not. Not a way to live, that's for sure. You're not living. You're not living. You're just existing. You're just surviving. And this experience for you, how long did it take you from recognizing this that Saturday morning to creating this rat race recovery coaching program that you have? How long did you when did you hit yourself like, oh my God, I need to apply what I do for my clients to be?
Well, it took me quite a bit. I was in absolute denial. No, but people need me and my work needs me and I love my work. When you're in that state, you keep on telling yourself that you love your work and that people need you and what would the work do without you? And so you keep on telling yourself all these stories because otherwise, if you don't get up out of bed in the morning, right? You
Right.
have to tell yourself that you love your work so much because otherwise you don't get in the car. So it took me quite a bit to basically to dismantle all those lies that I was telling myself and realize, okay, if that's not the life I want, if this is not what I want, then what do I want? And what am I telling myself that prevents me from going in that direction? And of course, one of the things I trained myself a lot on awareness, and that's I always looked at what are analyzed sort of what are my thoughts, what am I thinking, and I realized that I was all the lies that I was telling myself that I was creating this world around me that was bad for me. And so when I started on that Saturday morning, I finally started realizing that okay, maybe the things I'm telling myself are not actually good for me. Maybe I don't love my work as much as I say I do. And so I started that's that simple shift of maybe maybe I'm just, maybe I should do something different. That maybe question came up, and then from that moment, it still took me, I think, a full year maybe to get fully to that place where I said, okay, this is something that nobody should experience ever. Because I had at some point, it was so bad that I felt so insignificant and so, while telling myself, right, it's the contradiction. I felt very insignificant, but I was telling myself that I was so needed. And
And
so that
so important.
contradiction, yes, and so important. People cannot do without me. And
That's
in the
right.
meantime, the kind of I kind of whenever I stepped into the car from my work, I kind of felt like, I didn't do anything well. I was absolutely not necessary. Nobody needs me. Nobody listens to me anyway. So there was this whole construct in my brain that was completely one side and the other side that were in conflict with each other. And so it took a while for me to realize that. And of course, I was on my own. I didn't have a coach or a mentor at work or anybody that supported me through that. So it was really me discovering me and discovering how I was thinking. And if you do these things by yourself, there's nobody that helps you accelerate the process. So it took me a long time.
And it's
Well, and
hard.
feel a
It's
long
hard.
time.
Yeah, it's hard to do it yourself. It's hard to look inside yourself. In fact, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. At least that's what I have found, right? When I've looked inside myself, and I do it quite often, it is so hard to really figure out what exactly is going on, what exactly is triggering you, what exactly is exhausting you, what exactly you're feeling, just what the feeling is in that moment. And I think, like, for you, you're describing exhaustion and you're describing this thought process, but there's got to be these other signs. Like if I'm in corporate right now and I'm just tired, right? I'm tired. I'm tired of the politics. I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of, the working late at night. That's not the only thing. Like, those aren't the only things that are signs of this rat race, right? There's got to be these other signs that are happening within you.
There's all kinds of things happening within you, but mostly what you notice it the most with is the people around you. The people around you that you love to be around if you would have the headspace and the nervous system calm to be around them. And I'm taking kids as an example. A lot of parents, they before they have kids, they want kids, they love kids, they do anything in their power to get pregnant, and then they're pregnant and they're super happy when the baby is born. And then you have a 3-year-old and a busy job, and suddenly the 3-year-old is too much. But seriously, is the 3-year-old too much? I mean, this is your passion, your child. And they say, no, this Saturday, I cannot handle being around them. But that's not because of the child. That's because of the other stuff that's going on in your life, in your work. So, because if you truly look inside you, and if you truly look at your authentic self wants nothing more than to play with your child in the park. So where you notice it the most, I feel where my clients notice it the most, is in the people around them, that they cannot make the headspace. They do not have the headspace to go to the movies with their spouse because things are racing around still in there. Or they don't want to be with their mother because their mother is always complaining a lot. No, they're not. You can handle that if you have a healthy balance and a healthy work life. You can handle all those things, and you can handle the people around you. You can handle the parties. You can handle the kids.
You're talking about not having capacity, right? Not having capacity for anything else outside that corporate job that is basically this financial trap that you're in. You want more, more, more. You want more money, right? So you can take more trips or do more things. You want to have more impact, or you want to have more recognition. But what it does is it drains that capacity out of you for anything else.
Yeah.
So
yes,
how do you know when to stop or just slow down?
I think it's a matter of awareness. So everything starts with awareness. I mean, right? It's if you want to change something, you first have to become aware and become honest with yourself. Pure honesty. That's what is going on in your life, right? What is going on is that it's not healthy, and admitting that to yourself, that it's not healthy what's going on, is a big first step, because that basically means that you're ready to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, maybe what I'm chasing right now isn't the best thing. I by the way, also think that besides from the rat race being financial, it's also very often promotion that never arrives. So the rat race is not just a financial moving around because of the next financial step. It's also the perceived next step. And for a lot of us, we are running that rat race, and that perceived next step may never come because you're one of 8 that is up for that same promotion, and there's only one spot available. So everybody runs that race, everybody pushes everything else aside, all those 8 are saying, well, no, I have to sacrifice my family life, my health, I cannot go to this party, I cannot go to the gym, I cannot do this. We're sacrificing that for a possible promotion. not even a certain promotion. And so there's a lot of that in there that's also in our minds and in what we tell ourselves would happen if we would not reach that next level, or what we tell ourselves would happen if we do.
And I also think we don't stop to look and say, what do I actually want? Like, I think we're so busy being tapped on the shoulder for that next promotion or the potential of the next promotion that we don't stop and say, is this what I even want to be doing? Is this even where I want to be? Or what do I want out of my life? Life overall, not just work life overall. Right?
Yes. Well, so science and all kinds of research, they show that people that run are actually the people that get the least promotions.
True. It is true.
Because it's the promotions. If a company can, some companies don't do this, right? But if they look at the numbers, but most companies, they look at the numbers in combination with who you are and how you come across. Now, if you step into that workplace every day like this, shoulders up, stressed, not friendly, but people sense when you're friendly, or when you're friendly to get rid of them, right? There's no
right.
doubt. So real friendly, authentic friendliness is something different than just playing friendly. People can sense it in their bones. Now, if you have a company that does 50-50, they look at your numbers, but they also look at who you are. The person that is happy, that has the rest of their life in a way that it relaxes them, they step into that office and they look around and they say, "Oh, I'm hi," and they're genuinely friendly. Those people are up for the promotion, and the people that only have this part, that number part in order, they'll unless your company has a different policy, they're usually skipped.
Yeah, the authenticity matters and the impact matters less than the how much am I getting done and, who am I talking to today? You're right. It is really how, I hate to use the word politics, but it's not politics. It's how you present yourself and how you walk in. And I can tell you, I've been there. I've walked in with the shoulders and the ears and I have to get a certain amount done today because I've got so much to do. And then I got to pick up the kids and then I got to race home and I got to make dinner and I got to get them shower or get them in the bathtub and I get them to bed. And I've been there where my whole life is just this run, this intensity, this uncomfortable feeling. I'm in a completely different place now. But when I was in it, all I could look at was the environment. All I could look at was everybody around me and my boss wasn't setting and the work was rolling downhill and the priorities weren't being set. So I had all this work and who was going to do it if I didn't do it? And everything, I was looking at the external. I was looking at everybody around me and I was blaming everybody around me, including husband, kids. Like my kids didn't behave that day. Everything was building. And the thing is, and I don't think people realize this, like it's not external. The rat race is not external. It's internal.
Oh, absolutely. And even better, it's you can either be in one of two places. And so your brain, the way the brain functions, you can either be in survival mode or you can be creative. And if you're in survival mode, you push people away, you get like tunnel vision, you run. But if you look at the managers that are most successful, they're the managers that are in the creative brain or that are in that survival mode, but that anyway, downward give people the idea that they can be in the creative brain. Because if everybody is always in that survival, your team is not going to come up with solutions that are out of the box because they're going to be afraid. And so you need creativity, you need flexibility, so the teams that are most successful are the teams of the people that can exist in this space where they are slightly more relaxed. Now, who creates those environments where people can be more relaxed and creative? Those are the people that are not in survival, but they themselves are also in that other part of the brain that doesn't say that's not survival. So it's funny that we push and push and push, yet it has the opposite effect of what we really want to reach.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're not, and we're pushing on the work and we're pushing on the people. We're not pushing on ourselves. That's the key, right? If I am desperate to be successful, right? Like I want to be successful. I want to make more money. I want the promotion, whatever it is I want. And I want to also be calmer and more creative. And I want to be not feeling like I'm burned out all the time when I enter the new year, whether it's tomorrow or I enter the next morning. What is my first step? What do I do?
So there is, I think, a lot of work that we do on a daily basis is work that we don't really need to do to be successful. So I'm a Tony Robbins coach, right? So I take his learnings and I take those into my practice as well. And one of the things Tony Robbins teaches is 3 to thrive. And it's basically the Pareto principle. I think everybody knows that. Right?
Love that principle.
80-20 rule.
Yep.
So 80% of your success comes from 20% of the work that you do. And within that 20%, if you look at all the tasks we do in a day, if we don't focus, if we don't say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today, you are running from one side to the other because you basically react to what comes in. And so the most important thing I would say is become proactive. Proactively look at your day, and everybody has a commute time, even if it's only 5 minutes, right? You have a commute time. So during your commute time, think about what is my 20% today that's going to give me 80% of the results. And within that 20%, what is my 3 to thrive? What are the 3 things that I need to do earlier than anything else so that 20% is more in reach, basically? You cannot see that, but here behind me, this is a picture of a frog. And there's a book called Eat Your Frog. And it's a book that says basically there's this one thing that everybody does in a day that they don't want to do, and they either do it or they procrastinate. And it can be something simple as making your bed or something they procrastinate on. Usually it's something bigger than making your bed. And so within that 3 to thrive, what I personally do is I eat my frog first. And the frog, there's this Chinese saying that if you can eat a frog every morning, and please don't do this at home. I don't eat a frog. I don't. But if you can
it's a saying or a metaphor, right? It's a saying.
It's a saying. I'm not sure if it used to be a practice, and you never know where these legends are usually based on truth, right? But if you can eat a frog in the morning, there's nothing else in the rest of the day that is worse than that. And so that's where it comes from, basically. And so if you take the 3 to thrive and you do the most difficult one of those 3 first, you get to celebrate that accomplishment. That puts you in a completely different state of mind for the rest of your day. So to summarize, if I would say, how do you get out of a rat race? Look yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. What are you telling yourself about your job that might not be true? Do you love it, or do you just tell yourself that because you have to tell yourself that to get in your car in the morning without crying? So that's one. Second, the 80-20 rule, and check within that 20% of what is success, what creates the 80% of success. Check your top 3 things that will make your day. That if you say, well, I reached those 3 things, now I feel that I did something. That I accomplished something, that I worked through something. And of those 3 to thrive, do your frog first. And do the one thing that you do not like to do first. And then, once you did, something very, very important, celebrate. And because the brain loves to celebrate, and it will give you more of that high and more of that moment. Celebrate. And it can be as simple as yoo-hoo behind your desk. or you can go get yourself a nice cup of coffee that you normally don't do in honor of that celebration. And that will set you up for the rest of the day.
I love that. And I'm big on this 3 to Thrive thing. I never called it that, but I'm holding here my full focus planner. I live and breathe by this thing. And it says the daily big 3. Every single day, it's the daily big 3. And in this, I have the daily big 3 every single day, the top 3 things I need to accomplish that day. And then the rest of the list could be really long. But if I accomplish those 3, I feel like I've done it, like I've accomplished what I need to accomplish. And then the other things just move to other days because they weren't urgent. I firmly believe in the top 3 because I think we can get very overwhelmed by everything we need to do. And quite frankly, that top 3, like one of my top 3 today was to sign my kids up for, some trip that they're doing with school, right? That could be a top 3, right? It could be order something on Amazon, right? That you just have been meaning to order before Prime Days end or something like that, right? Whatever it is, the top 3 things that must be done. And sometimes all 3 are administrative. They're not like big thought leadership things. But I think narrowing that down and celebrating, I agree with you 100%. I think it takes you a little out of your headspace of all the stuff you need to do. But I have a question. So I don't think people realize how hard it is to change this habit once you're in it. Because when I was in the rat race, like even when I went out on my own and I opened my own coaching business, I still had trouble stepping off the treadmill. I still felt like I had to do more. I still felt like I had to try harder. I still felt it took me a good 6-8 months before I realized, okay, the whole point of working for yourself is to have more freedom, right? Have more time, be able to be more creative. And it took me a while to get there. So if you're still working in corporate, how do you help people like process what they're going through? Because they might still be in what they think is the rat race because they're in the environment, like they haven't changed environments. So what do you do with that? Like, what do I do if I say, well, my office is a rat race? Like, how do you process that and get out of that and change the habit of how you work?
It is actually a little bit the same, the 3 to Thrive, but we are talking about big steps, right? Because both you and me have done the 3 to Thrive probably for forever. So sometimes I recommend to do the 3 to Thrive if you cannot do it in the office. You do it at home. So you start with, and especially as we spoke about people with burnout in the beginning. People with burnout, sometimes the 3 to Thrive is as much as getting out of bed and getting a cup of coffee. And sometimes that is a 3 to Thrive, because imagine being in a burnout, being paralyzed by everything and overstimulated by everything that's going around you, right? And taking that cup of coffee is a big thing. And that's your 3 to Thrive, because that cup of coffee, that habit of taking time for yourself, of getting that cup of coffee or getting out of bed is something that in the future will lead to you being able to get out of bed with a happy mood and to not even having to think how to get a cup of coffee, just pressing the button. So we often think that that we have to do big steps to have big results, and actually it's not. Going into another Tony Robbins thing, there's this thing called a 2-millimeter wrench, and I even have it. Let me show it for you.
Sure.
And the 2-millimeter wrench.
Yep.
There it is. And basically, the whole idea behind it is if you tighten a bolt 2 millimeters every day, for today, it doesn't mean much. Today alone. For tomorrow, it doesn't mean much. But if you look at that wrench over a week, it's a lot tighter. If you look at it over a year, it's tight and it's done. So don't underestimate what a little shift can do, and how little shifts taken consistently every day can compound into big changes over a week, a month, and a year. And so when you are in that situation and when you're in corporate and you feel all that pressure, the the one thing is just maybe not go home for an entire hour earlier. Take 5 minutes. Go 5 minutes earlier. Go a minute earlier if 5 minutes is too much. Or say no once in a month, because that means you said no 12 times a year. And next
That's
year,
good.
you'll say no 120 times, because your system is going to find that it's not as hard. You're going to identify the lies that you're telling yourself about saying no. And you're going to realize, oh, wait, I didn't get that huge bad outcome that ended up with me under the bridge somewhere. Actually, I said no, and they process tested a little, but nothing bad happened. You know, and so you get evidence that things work out, and with that evidence, you do a little bit more every time, and it compounds.
I feel like you're talking about two really big things that people forget: boundaries and self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And you just talked about boundaries pretty extensively. Like, what are boundaries? How do you set boundaries? I did a whole separate podcast on boundaries and how to set them healthily, right? But this self-care piece, I had a person the other day I was talking to, and you could hear it in their voice. Like, you could hear how exhausted they were and how burned out they were from just life, everything in life. And the one question I asked them was, what are you doing for yourself? And they scoffed and said, who has time for myself? But that is so key, because if you don't replenish and recharge your own battery, you can't help anybody else. You can't be successful in your job, in your life, in anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole, what is that? The airline mask, right? You don't put the mask on yourself before you put it on the kid, right? You have to recharge yourself. And what do you say about self-care? Like, self-care, I love how you said it could just be a minute. Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing. It doesn't have to be a spa. It could be something little for yourself.
So yes, it can be, and it can be a 3 breaths of fresh air, and it can be just opening your car window to, well, I'm not sure, depending if you're in traffic, it might not be that fresh, but still, no, I think so. Self-care is a thing, and if so, a person like that says, who has the time for self-care? Um, I would say to a person like that, it's your employer. It's worse for them if you get into a burnout than if you take those 10 minutes today. Because those 10 minutes today, if those prevent you from going into long-term sickness, and long-term sickness, I mean, people underestimate what a massive amount of knowledge they have, and what a massive amount of experience. We underestimate that from ourselves, because we all look at our colleagues and think, oh, they're going through it. They do exactly the same work, and it's so easy for them. Why isn't it so easy for me? But let's be honest. We don't know what's going on in their inner world. And if they look at you, they see you smiling and they think, oh, everything is so easy for her. Why is it so easy for her? So people tend to think the same thing about each other, and we underestimate how much others are struggling compared to how much, and we tend to think that we cannot take those 10 minutes. But an employer having to lose you with all your knowledge and all your experience for a couple of weeks because you cannot move, because your body gave up, that's way worse. Now, that's way worse, and that's not that's the reframe I would like to give that person. And then with that reframe, walk into the office knowing that, let me take somewhere, and it's not 10 minutes in a row, right? Let me just pee and stay sitting on the toilet. And I'm speaking from experience here. Stay sitting on the toilet for 1 whole minute, breathing, so that
Yeah,
I can go out there
right.
again, and I can face what I need to face with a difference, with a little bit more energy than I used to have when I didn't do that, right? So take the stairs, and and take the stairs a little bit slower. Don't run up. Things like that. It's the little things that make the difference, not the big gestures.
Some of the things that I've had said to me is, well, you're an entrepreneur, so you control your day and therefore you don't have to be in the rat race, or you've escaped the rat race. And I don't think you have to be an entrepreneur. I think that if I went back into corporate, which I'm not planning on doing, granted, but if I did, I would enter completely differently knowing what I know now than what I knew when I was in it. So I think what I'm trying to say is Carolina here is like giving you the roadmap. Like she's giving you the roadmap if you're still in corporate or you're an entrepreneur or whatever part of life you're in. Like she's telling you what you need to do, right? In order to stop this within yourself, because it's in you. It's in you. It's not everybody else around you. So what would you say to that? Like about how people can wake up tomorrow differently? What's the one little thing they can do tomorrow morning that they didn't maybe necessarily do today that could help take some of this pressure and this rat race feeling off of themselves?
I would say decide that tomorrow morning when you wake up to enjoy life. And just that decision. I know that sounds too simple to be true, right? It sounds silly, it sounds simple, but the fact is, if you look at all the things that make people change, you change in a second. It's not like you change in a heartbeat, literally. You don't, you change over time. You implement the change over time, but the actual change and that realization, it changes like that. And the way it changes is with a decision. The decision to do something differently tomorrow than you did today. And once you've made that decision, you've made the decision to look at yourself. You made the decision to go to heal yourself and to get that conditioning, which, by the way, is there for generations, right? Our parents also worked very hard. In a different time, they worked very hard, but they also worked very hard. So take that decision, and realize that if you stick to that decision, that's when your life changes. That's when your life changes. That's when your outlook changes. That's when your view of the world changes. It only takes one insight. It only takes one moment, and it only takes one decision. And in my experience, my personal experience, get help. Get somebody to guide you through this, because you can do what I did, right? Struggle and figure it out for a year. And then even with the tools that I back then as a young coach, right? But still I had the tools and I had stuff that even as a coach, it took me a year to get from that, oh, this is not right, to and now I'm back to being happy and to feeling things, because I disconnected completely from my feelings and myself as well. It took me a year. After that year, I started working with someone, and I compounded that year into 3 months, into 2 months, and so now I realize that if you model after someone, or if you take support and let somebody guide you, you can take that decision, and then somebody holds you accountable for it and says, hey, but you made that decision. What happened that you didn't follow through yesterday? And and that's not a judgment, because I can tell you again, it took me a year. That's not because I did something every day. It's because I promised myself I would do something every day, and then I did it for a week, and then after a week, I realized, after the second week, I realized that I didn't do it for the last week, right? So, yeah, I would just say do that as well.
Find that accountability partner. There's a reason why therapists have therapists. There's a reason why coaches have coaches. There's a reason why support groups have other support groups, right? People
Exactly.
need other people. They need to engage with somebody else. They need that accountability partner. And I fully believe in that. I have a coach. I think everybody should have a coach or a therapist if needed. I think both are fantastic. And, now is the time to invest in yourself and invest in your future, right? Because you have to decide today. It's not a choice. It's a decision. There's a difference, because when you have a choice, you can back out of it. But a decision means you're going to move forward. So if they make the choice today, so I should ask people where they can find you because you coach people on this and you have a rat race recovery program. So where can people find you if they want further guidance?
So people can always contact me via my website, coachingbycarolina.com. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And so it's my name. I'm guessing it's in the picture as well, Carolina Bakker. And people can find me on Instagram with the handle @ratracerelease.
And we will absolutely put all of those in the show notes so people can find you. And, take the next step. Now, there's no better time like today or tomorrow morning when you wake up. Carolina, thank you so much for coming. This has been super enlightening, super inspiring. I just hope people will listen. I hope they will take control of their lives. I hope they will live. Simply live.
Yes. The world needs so many happy people and people that feel and that experience life, because that's what we're here for, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you so much for listening. If Carolina's story resonated with you, if you recognize parts of your own burnout, your own rat race, your own I can't keep doing this, please hear this. You don't have to wait for a breaking point to choose something better. Small shifts, daily awareness, one brave decision. That's where everything begins. And as always, if this episode helped you breathe a little deeper, share it with someone who needs it. And don't forget to rate and review the show. The journey is yours. Work Unscripted is produced and edited in partnership with the team at Palm Tree Podco and 21 Digby. The content for this week's episode was created by me, Marlo Lyons.